First item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council reporting out of closed session. The first motion for the first item is to receive the report and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Thank you. Someone to move that? Councillor Thompson, seconder. Councillor Weiss. Any comments or questions? Seeing none. Recorded vote.
Recorded vote has been requested for the first item of council reporting out of closed session. Councillor Gartner, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Gartner votes yes. Councillor Weiss? Councillor Weiss votes yes. Councillor Gallo?
Yes.
Councillor Gallo votes yes. Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Kim votes yes. Councillor Gilliland? Councillor Gilliland votes yes. Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
And Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Second item.
Second item of council reporting out of closed session is to receive the report and that confidential direction to staff be confirmed.
Someone like to move that? Councillor Gallo, Councillor Thompson, second. Any comments or questions? Recorded vote.
Recorded vote has been requested for the second item of council reporting out of closed session. Councillor Gallo, how do you vote? Councillor Gallo votes yes. Councillor Thompson?
Yes.
Councillor Thompson votes yes. Mayor Maracus?
Yes.
Councillor Kim?
Yes.
Councillor Kim votes yes. Councillor Gartner? Councillor Gartner votes yes. Councillor Weiss? Councillor Weiss votes yes. And Councillor Gilliland? Councillor Gilliland votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Confirming bylaw. Someone like to move that? Councillor Gardner, second. Councillor Weiss, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gardner, all those in favor? Opposed? That carries. We are adjourned. Councillor Gallo?
Right. Thank you. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, it is 7:02 p.m. on Tuesday, November 21st, 2023. I'd like to call this General Committee meeting to order. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and treaty territories of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, as well as the other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nations community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands, and as a municipality, we join them in their responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and Chippewas, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaty of 1923. A shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Could I please get a motion to approve the revised agenda as distributed? Councillor Weiss, Councillor Gardner, any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Thank you. There are no, declarations of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, no community presentations. We have 2 delegations this evening. 6.1, Miss Moledina, you have 5 minutes.
I'm Shaheen Moledina of Active Minds Activity Center in Aurora on Ridge Road. Our Honorable Mayor and Councillors, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. The town of Aurora is like a Hallmark card, beautiful and inviting. When I moved to Aurora from Richmond Hill with our children, I always had planned on moving back to Richmond Hill, but after living here, I see why our slogan is, "You're in good company." But lately we've lost our way and not everyone feels safe. As Muslim residents and parents, we want to convey our sincere condolences to those families who we know have deep kinship with citizens living in Israel. The ongoing occupation and cycle of violence in Israel and the Gaza Strip has led to enormous and senseless tragedy and suffering on both communities. It doesn't escape us that these events are also taking place during Islamic Heritage Month, which offers Canadians an opportunity to celebrate the diversity of Canada's Muslim communities. We wonder if you might be open to using this emotive moment as an approach to model the community that hate has no place in Aurora. Whether you're Jewish, Muslim, of another faith, or none. We know our community is built on a legacy of trust, caring, and compassion, and there is perhaps no better time to demonstrate the spirit of cooperation. War is devastating and painful experience, one that brings out the worst in humanity. It is during these times like these that we must come together and rise above hate. Hate only perpetuates violence and suffering, and it hinders any chance of constructive dialogue and peaceful resolution. In the midst of the conflict, it's easy for emotions to run high and for divisions to deepen. However, it is precisely during these challenging times that we must remind ourselves of our shared humanity. We must remember that behind the political rhetoric and the headlines, there are ordinary people, families and children who are bearing the brunt of the violence. Stopping hate requires empathy, understanding, and willingness to listen to different perspectives. It means recognizing that for every human life is valuable, regardless of nationality, religion, or ethnicity. It means refusing to generalize or stereotype entire communities based on actions of a few. We must also acknowledge that hate is not confined to the battlefield. It seeps into our daily lives, affecting our relationships, our schools, and our workplaces. It is also our responsibility to actively combat hate in all its forms, whether it is through promoting tolerance and acceptance or engaging in peaceful dialogue. Furthermore, we must not underestimate the power of unity. By coming together as a community, we can show that hate will not divide us. We can support initiatives that promote dialogue, understanding, and peace-building efforts in Gaza and beyond. Stopping hate is not an easy task, but it is a necessary one. It requires a collective effort from every member of our community. Let us stand together shoulder to shoulder and work towards a future where hate has no place. Only then can we pave the way for a better, more harmonious world. Perhaps this could be done in the form of having a Jewish person and a Muslim person present a united front in condemning hate and violence at a community event where the Quranic view on violence could be highlighted, or perhaps it could take place of ensuring that events in Israel and Gaza are communicated to residents with proper historical context and nuance. It is clear, after all, that Hamas' heinous act did not take place in a vacuum, but followed decades of occupation and subjugation against Palestinians, 50% of whom are children. We need our leaders to take a stand for peace in the region for Jews and Muslims. I ask you to join mayors and councillors across Canada to demand a ceasefire for peace, so no more children and civilians die on both sides. I look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Please once again accept our deepest condolences. Thank you.
Thank you, Shaheen. Could I please get a motion to receive the comments? Councillor Gilliland, Councillor Weiss, thank you. Any comments or questions? Seeing none. Oh, Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. Just want to say thank you very much for coming and speaking today. It was very, very brave of you to come up to the podium and talk about a subject that has had a lot of uncertainty within the communities. I have had several phone calls from not only close friends, but constituents in the community that feel the same way you do, of, feeling unsafe or uneasy, stressed, anxiety. And it's clear that, there is unfortunately, a lot of angry people, hateful, insightful, And, I think we do need to stick together and deny insightful speech and hate in the community and really focus on peace and unity and love. And I do support, that in your speech that we should be looking towards of a peaceful environment as far as what's going on around the world, which isn't just beholden to the Middle East. There's lots of things going on around the world that is unfortunate. And all we can do is support where we can and hopefully encourage people to stand together in peace and unity so we don't cause any further disdain or unsafe feeling in the community, because we need to grow together, as you had said. It's funny because I am working on a motion about something similar to this, because people are expecting leaders, municipal councillors, mayors, the federal government, provincial government to take a stand and then make an example of, how we feel we should be presenting ourselves in the world and how we should be treating each other as human beings. And it's complicated. There's a lot of different nuances in history, as you said, and it's very complicated of, where one's opinions might be. But at the end of the day, I think we can all agree that we're all human and we should love one another and not hurt one another. And how we go about educating that and standing together, well, I guess that's for us to kind of find out and what we can do to be successful in that. So I appreciate that you came up here and were brave to say that. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Thank you. 6.2, Shehryar Khan. Welcome, and you have 5 minutes. It's regarding item 9.1, application for Radiocommunication Tower, Northward Infrastructure Inc., 15820 Bayview Avenue.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Shehryar Khan. I'm the Director of Real Estate for Northwood Infrastructure. We're a Canadian-owned and operated company, completely focused on building a hybrid structure. You see it on the screen over here and above. The hybrid structure actually composes of a wireless infrastructure, digital media sign, and EV charging stations. We have been working with our partners for the last 2 years in compiling a lot of our partners in EV, such as Flow, our real estate partners, such as Choice, and then also our wireless operator partners, such as Rogers, who are specifically for this location. This structure is a first of its kind in Canada. It's not your typical telecommunication structure. We've really focused our company to be focused on the aesthetics and concealment of such a structure. The specifics of this location, I'm just going to skip through just because there's a lot of slides over here. But the specifics of this location, it's at 15820 Bayview Avenue, just west of Bayview Avenue and south of St. John's Side Road, more specifically on this property where there's a beer store and LCBO. Again, we're here to see concurrence on the wireless infrastructure component and also a variance on the digital media sign. I'm here to answer any questions regarding this proposal. Once again, it's one of the first of its kind. And we've worked with town staff in doing a public consultation, public meeting, and addressed a lot of comments and concerns. We look forward to hearing from your feedback.
Thank you very much. Could I get a motion to receive the comments and refer them to item 9.1, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Yearend, any comments or questions for the delegate? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting there this evening. Just confirmation with respect to the digital sign. The proposal is that it's treated as a third-party sign. So you'll essentially lease or rent out space and sell advertisements on it to any business?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So our focus is the target audience is the Aurora and Newmarket audiences. It's for the local businesses in the area, so the property on its own. And we're to follow the Canadian Code of Advertising Standards, so national brands basically, for the local audience, for the local community. We're also with the media sign, I didn't mention this, but we've allotted space for the town of Aurora as well too, for any public messages as well too. So it has about 8 cycles. And so a whole cycle is kind of, dedicated to the town of Aurora for any public messages that would want to go up.
Thank you. Through again from the chair to your delegate. But you're not necessarily going to restrict it just to small businesses in Aurora. If Costco wanted to put an ad on it, that would be allowed.
So right now we're working with our media partners. We haven't really decided on what messages go on there, but we're willing to work with the town in what those restrictions might be. This is again the first of its kind, and it's the first of its kind, and we're really trying to combine all these structures together. So the media, EV, and wireless. Again, I've been in the industry for many years in wireless telecommunications, and we haven't seen something like this. I was just driving by the 404 in Wellington, and I saw 2 towers side by side. But I mean, yeah, again, with the media component, we're willing to work with town in terms of what is an appropriate messages. For example, your question regarding Costco, we're working with our partner, which is Choice Properties, who is the property owner on the subject location. It wouldn't be any content that would compete with the existing businesses on that property. So there's a real Canadian superstore there. Costco, they wouldn't allow Costco to place their direct messages on that media sign.
Thank you. And I just use them as an example because I think, and you'll hear my comments this evening, my concern is it's being utilized to advertise new market businesses as opposed to local businesses in Aurora.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. You mentioned a public meeting. Was council invited to that?
Yes, they were.
Okay, I don't remember seeing an invitation. And when was it? And who from the public turned out?
So the planning staff did turn out. The planner on file, Catherine Gatzos, was in attendance to that public meeting. And I might have some information about that over here. There was a notice as well too, a public notice sign, and then a notice was sent out to about 250 residences. It was the notification radius was also expanded. So the general notification radius is 120 meters. We notified 240 meters, just an expansion. We had 2 public notice signs on the property as well too, and the planner didn't attend. We also had 2 members of the public attend as well too. 3 members of the public attend.
Thank you.
Yep.
Other comments or questions? Thank you. Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the delegate, if this is a telecommunications tower, that would entail that there is a need for a tower in this area, in this radius. Has there been any complaints about reception by various clientele, or is there a new faster speed of communication technology that's being developed that can only be utilized by another tower? So essentially, I'm just asking why the need for a tower in this space when I've been living in that area for a while myself, and I've had no issues with reception. So can you clarify the need?
Out of town, but as you have more and more users, the cell begins to shrink, and then you have a capacity issue. And so this specific area is a capacity issue, and we don't really go out and find locations for towers unless there is a need from the wireless carriers. So we've partnered up with Rogers Communications. They are the anchor tenant on this site. There's also co-location opportunities for other wireless carriers. They're also planning 3 years in advance. So the thing is that they are always looking at existing usage. And so they know that there's going to be in the near future a drop in cell service or a drop in data issue or with data issues. And so they want to make sure that they have continuous service for their customers. So again, in the nearby area, I actually have some slides over here that speak to. So these are all the existing wireless structures in the area, various carriers. And you can see, I mean, you don't really have to be a rocket scientist to understand that there's a hole, there's a gap in the middle. There's a lot of issues with passerby traffic. And then also Roger's intention is to provide coverage to the residents to the east. This is more specifically showing each specific tower and their height and their structures nearby.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, through you, Mr. Chair, to the delegate, my major concern is really the size of the display. I recognize that, you know, based on what you said, that there's going to be a need and there's could be some drop calls. So this is something that would be necessary for local residents, which is, you know, a positive service. Is there an absolute need to have the square meter or the square footage of the real estate of the monitor to be double the size of what we currently allow?
Right. So the existing sign bylaw allows for 10 square meters, and what we're proposing is roughly about 18 square meters. So you're right, it's double the size. And then also the ground height is 7.5 meters, and we're proposing 9.5. I'll just go towards the, if I can go back to the location. So the blue square is where we're proposing our structure, and the blue rectangle is our EV charging spaces. We're roughly about 75 meters from the road. It's about 240 feet. And then it's also, there's an elevation drop as well too from the road to where we're proposing. It's roughly about 5 meters or 15 feet. We don't think that if you see the photo simulations here as well too, the bottom right is a good simulation showing off of Bayview Avenue, where you see the existing pylon sign for the LCBO. We don't, even though it's twice the size, given that the distance and setback is there, and then also the elevation drop, we don't think that it would have much of an issue on the passerby traffic. Also, the sign is perpendicular to the residential space as well. And the company that we're working with for the LED signage, it's also, they have this patent technology called Sightline, where at 30 degrees, you don't even see the digital screenage signs at all. So it's not, there's no any luminance issues to the residences. We also did a lighting study that we provided to town staff as well too, showing that there wouldn't be any issues. So again, yeah, the size is double in size, but I think that we believe that given the distance from the road and also the drop in elevation, that it's still appropriate for the location.
Mr. Kim,
Thank you.
other comments? Seeing none, actually, just one question. You had mentioned that you sent out an invitation to all of council, or someone sent an invitation. Do you know when that was? Because I, as the ward councillor, I was a little shocked to see that there was
actually, as the ward councillor, I did send a specific note to you as well too. I had it in my email requesting a meeting in March to speak to you, and I didn't receive a notice back. And we did send out a notice to 250 residences. It was 240 meter circulation. So we were told by staff that it was council's request to double expand the notification radius. So, you know, I think the notification was pretty out there. Typically with these structures, there's really no notice sign and there's a 120 meter radius. We expanded the notification radius. We did do a public meeting, and we did put 2 notice signs, which are still at the property right now on both frontages.
Thank you. I don't recall getting it, so I would have loved to have been there.
It's I mean, like if you guys have seen a lot of the telecom structures in Aurora as well too. And I showed you a list of the map of all those structures. Nothing looks like this.
I understand. We have another councillor that has a question.
Oh,
Councillor Gillen.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Just curious, because in your not this presentation, but in the report, you have a list of how many residents you mailed with names and addresses. Is there a number of people that showed up? Just two? Is it?
Microphone.
Okay. And how many letters did you receive in resistance?
We received about 6, maybe 5 or 6.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. And I did read through some of the letters and responses. Were they all reflected here? Because I just recall a couple of them. And there was a lot of answers to a lot of the questions and concerns, but were all the letters included in this?
Yes, they were,
maybe
yeah.
I went through them quickly, but they're
Yeah,
pretty
all-
detailed.
Yeah, everything, every response and every comment was included in the report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more comments, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Thank you very much. Mention it. Consent agenda, we do not have a consent agenda. Advisory committee meetings, may I get a motion to receive items 8.1 to 8.3 for information, please? Councillor Thompson, Councillor Weiss, any comments or questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Consideration of items requiring discussion. Let's start with 9.1. PDS 23-131 application for radio communication tower, Northward Infrastructure Inc. 15820 Bayview Avenue, Lot 1, Block 7, Plan 65M 2874, file number SPT 2023-02. Could I get a motion or the staff recommendation on the floor? Someone would like to move the staff recommendation? Move to receive. There's a second. Councillor Thompson. Comments or questions? Councillor Thompson.
Sorry about that. So I guess, I mean, there's twofold. I mean, we've gone through these processes before with regards to cell phone towers, and we know that our ability to prevent them from being built is limited because it falls under federal authority. So I just want to focus more on what we do have a say over, and that is the development or the request to for the variance for the digital sign. And I guess I see it from twofold. One, the sign itself they're proposing is a significant increase. It would be the largest sign along Bayview. And I just think about all the other businesses. Many of the other businesses on Bayview face similar challenges. They're set back from the road. They're down below street level. They too, in some of those smaller businesses, struggle to attract the motorists who are going down Bayview just because of the distance from the road. And I'm sure that if you were to ask many of them, would they be willing to increase their size of their sign? A lot of them would, because at the end of the day, signage helps drive traffic into your building. And so, I'm concerned that we're making an exception for this group when these local businesses would also want this kind of benefit to help their own businesses. And I'm sure many of them are struggling. Then over and above that, I look at it and the request is for a third party sign, which means that, they're not necessarily promoting the businesses on that property. They're promoting any business theoretically that is willing to rent space off of them. And so it does open up the possibility that they could be promoting businesses that are outside of Aurora or elsewhere. And again, it doesn't sit well with me with respect to that third party request. And so, for that reason, and for the fact that I just don't think that, you do it for one, you got to do it for all. And then all of a sudden we have a challenge with respect to signage all and up and down Bayview. I'm not in favor of granting this request because I'm struggling to understand the true benefit for the community in allowing this exception, because it's not necessarily promoting the beer store or the LCBO or the superstore. It's a standalone business. And so for them, I get the benefit, but what is the benefit for the community? So I'm not in support of the digital variants. That's it for now.
Thank you. Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. I had some similar opinions about the signage. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ramuno, in regards to this sign, this is it just really just for their own proprietorship so they can generate their own revenue. This is not, originally I thought the way it was presented with the town logo that this would have been like a sign for the town and things that are going on in town, but that is not what the case is here.
Mr. Rulo.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to you, Councillor Gillian. So that's correct. It is what's called a sort of a media dynamic sign, but it is also a third-party sign. And so they are seeking approval from council, not only for the sign variance, the increase in the size of the sign as per our sign bylaw, but they are also require, as per our sign bylaw, being a third-party sign, council's approval. But that's the intent, to be a third-party sign.
Councillor.
Thank you. And as a follow-up through Mr. Chair, do we have any existing kind of third-party billboard advertising kind of signage now throughout our town? I mean, I don't recall seeing it anywhere else, but I thought I'd ask.
Mr. Romano.
Through you, Mr. Chair, not that I'm aware of. This will be the first of its kind, being a media dynamic sign with a third-party capability.
Thank you. For that reason, I mean, for me, my first instinct was I felt that we're creating a whole new, I guess, business model within our town with these signs and promoting, could be any business. I guess to Councillor Thompson's point, could be a business outside of Aurora. And I just get the feeling in the sense that we'll become a town of a bunch of billboards and signs flashing at us, telling us what to buy all the time. And I just don't feel like that's kind of the feel of the community and what we'd like to have. So I just feel like this is something that doesn't suit our town and not supporting that. As again, if it was something that was specific to the town and it was a town sign advertising town events and good things going on in town, I thought, oh, well, this is maybe a community benefit. That's kind of my first take on it, but that's not what it is. As far as the rest of the construction of the cell tower, I did read some of the letters and they had good points on both sides. And I guess everything's subjective, just depending on the science that you read. And I guess I'm a little bit on the fence as to, some of the concerns. I thought they were very well articulated and well footnoted with professional people in the industry. And so I guess through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ramuno, I know there was mention that if it complies, that it's federally regulated. Does that mean if they check all the boxes that we have no choice to say, oh, yeah, you can put it here because you check the boxes? Or does council still have the authority to say we don't want it here in the middle of our town?
Mr. Chair, with respect to the telecommunication sign, so ultimately it's the federal decision, but they do seek council's concurrence as to whether council
The tower, not the sign.
the tower, sorry, the tower. Yeah, the sign is solely within the hands of council to approve or not approve. But the tower, ultimately, it's the feds that will grant permission, but they do seek local council's concurrence as to whether you support the installation of the sign or not.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So even if they meet all the requirements, does that mean that we're beholden to the location? Could we not decide that, okay, so if that is what the met the requirements, but we're not really happy with the location or proximity to, say, some of the residents, there's a different location. Could we not, I guess, be in support of that instead if there was another option?
Mr. Romano.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, obviously council can request the applicant go back to revisit the location of the tower, but my understanding is they have spent some time in identifying the appropriate location for the tower, and they've gone through the Industry Canada's protocol as well as our protocol.
Thank you. Makes it very complicated. I did read everything in the report. I think I need some time to digest exactly where my decision is going to lie or what I would recommend. I don't even know what's my purview just based on what Mr. Ramuno had said. So I'll probably wait until next week before I really make a definite decision on what I feel about that. But because it's a serious piece of equipment that we're putting in the middle of our town that a lot of people around there feel very concerned about. And so I just really want to ensure that I do my homework and my due diligence and ensure that the public is aware that this is happening and this is coming. And I know there are people in the community that have sensitivities to this, and I want to ensure that I'm making the right decision, whether it's going to be beholden upon me or not. I want to make sure that my decision is within my principles. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to Mr. Ramuno, and perhaps you can look at this question can go to the delegate who's present, and the question escaped me earlier. Has there ever been conversation of a revenue sharing regarding the sign? And has there been any discussions on having the sign content be restricted to businesses that currently exist in Aurora, even if it's a national brand like Home Depot or Walmart, if they do exist in Aurora? Has those types of conditions ever been discussed? The applicant?
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Chair. No, I haven't had any discussions with the applicant regarding revenue sharing. However, staff have spoken to the applicant about, and you've heard directly from the speaker that they are willing to have further discussions with the town with respect to the content and the third-party content of the media sign.
Certainly, the perception of us of the sign advertising a business outside of Aurora, certainly that's a concern, especially in the last couple of years when every municipality has been focusing on shop local. So it would naturally do our businesses a disservice if we're certainly advertising a store located outside of the municipality. But I think there are certainly sufficient businesses in Aurora to give this sign and the company sufficient business. And conversely, there are businesses in other parts of Aurora that's been, craving to have some kind of signage to direct residents in, the eastern part of Aurora to, traffic or patronage businesses off of Yonge. So, there might be an opportunity for those businesses to actually use the sign that might be located here to drive business over there, because many people know that much of the revenue drivers come from the East End, based on conversations with local merchants. So certainly I do have some concerns about the size of the sign, but I do understand. Given the delegate has said that it's, there's a 75-foot setback from the street, which kind of diminishes the size of the sign from an optical perspective. But I'm also looking at it as, this might be an opportunity for businesses outside of the local area off Bayview to be able to advertise to residents on Bayview, Lawrence, or Leslie to frequent shops outside of that neighborhood. So there's certainly pros and cons, but I'd like to kind of hear between now and council what the conversation might be between staff and the delegate based on some of the questions that came up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. Through to Mr. Ramuno. Mr. Bruno, going back to the process with respect to the application and the cell phone tower, they provided us in their slide deck just some overviews of the other cell towers within the area. One of them shows that the closest cell tower is on Earl Stewart. It's only 130 meters away. And then they put a wider view. We see the two that are on St. John's and elsewhere in the area. As part of the process, the applicant is supposed to come forward with a needs assessment to show that there is a need for this. They're also supposed to show as part of the process that there's no availability to co-locate on any of the 8 or 9 towers within the immediate area. Do we independently verify any of this information that they present to us, or do we just accept it on its face value?
Mr. Rumuno?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So it is a requirement of our protocol, and I think of Industry Canada's protocol, to identify opportunities for co-location. So we require that information, but no, you're correct. We don't have that expertise to verify that, technical exercise, but we do obviously ask those questions to ensure that they've addressed the possibility of co-locating on other existing signs. But no, we just we accept the information that they provide based on their knowledge of the industry and their requirements.
Thank you. So unlike when a planning application comes forward, we peer review different reports that the applicant would provide. We don't do it in this case. Sorry, through you to Mr. Maroon.
Mr. Rowan?
Through Mr. Chair, no, not to that extent. No.
Thank you. And just, I'll go back to the digital sign one last time. It's just that, you look at all of the plazas up and down between Wellington and St. John's, they rely on a pylon sign. To the best of my knowledge, my conversation with Mr. Runo, those pylon signs aren't even as wide as this digital sign that's being proposed. And so again, I go back to the fact that wouldn't those businesses like to have a sign of these kind of dimensions to help promote their own businesses?
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Gilliland.
Thank you. Just for clarity, through Mr. Chair to Mr. Ramuno, for what Councillor Tom was suggesting. So the information is being provided by the applicant in respect to the cell tower. It's information that they provided from themselves to us of what they've met on the guidelines. So it's not like a third party has done a review of their work. They've kind of self-assessed themselves meeting the goals in the terms of what's approved for the minimum requirements, and they check those boxes and submit that to us. Is that kind of how it works? So they kind of self-regulate that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, essentially that's correct. But ultimately, then it does get submitted down to the feds, Industry Canada. They've changed their name now for the final review and approval or not.
Thank you. And yeah, as a follow-up to the sign, I default to, well, why don't I put a sign up and I'll start charging some reoccurring revenue too. And next thing you know, there'll be 100 signs on the street and we'll all have reoccurring revenue. I just think it opens up a can of worms and Pandora's box and a business model that I don't necessarily think that that's what we want to see downtown or any part of Aurora, to be quite honest. And I agree. I think if I was the Home Depot or the shawarma place, I'd be wanting the exact same sign, doing the exact same thing. So I just feel like this is a business model that doesn't apply anywhere in our town. And for me, I'm just not supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I have, oh, sorry, Mayor Marcus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just I agree with the majority of the comments around the table. When you look at this, their property owners essentially getting revenue from the cell tower going up as well, getting revenue from the sign. They're getting revenues from everywhere, but as Councillor Thompson mentioned, what's the town getting out of this? But I will ask council from this week to next week, if we are to look at suggesting that the town does not concur with moving forward with this, that we come up with a proper reasoning of why we do not concur with this, because we need that when we put that forward. So I would suggest that if that is the route that we are going to go as a council, that we work with staff and have those discussions and have a very good reasoning that is proper to put forward to say that we do not concur.
Thank you. Any other? I just have one. I concur with much of what was said, and I just want to quote the report. It says that the proposed sign must comply with section 6.2 regulations for ground signs as defined in the sign bylaw 5840-16 as defined below. And ground sign definition is shall mean a sign erected in a fixed location and supported by one or more uprights, poles, braces, or other structural base placed in or upon the ground, but does not include a third-party sign. There's a reason why we put that in the sign bylaws. Having said that, seeing no more comments, all those in favor to receive. Opposed, that's carried. Thank you. Item 9.2, outdoor community reflection space. Could I get someone to put the staff recommendation on the floor, please? Councillor Yearend. Second. Councillor Thompson. Comments or questions? See none. I have a few. There was a committee that reviewed this, and I'm all in favor of finding a location for community reflection space, and I'm not necessarily against it being at the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. The committee that was struck, can someone let me know who is on that committee or who comprises of the committee? Somebody?
Sorry,
Yeah.
through chair, I certainly Michelle Johnson would probably be the most confirming as to how to speak to it. And certainly we're open to further consultation as the report communicates. So. Go ahead, Michelle.
Chair, it was an idea that came from the Indigenous Relations Committee. And within that committee, a subgroup met to further discuss the idea. Initially, the scope for the project was meant to be along the lines of truth and reconciliation and findings related to residential schools. And the committee met to discuss the scope of the reflection space, identify potential locations for the reflection space, and those conversations went on throughout the winter and into the spring.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out who was on the committee.
Indigenous Relations Committee.
Which
So
is?
myself, Shelley Ware, Nicole Campsall, and Greg Peary was part of it as well.
So that's all staff.
That was staff, yes.
Okay. And there hasn't been any community engagement.
Regarding the selection of the space at this point, no.
Okay. And there obviously being the ward counselor, there was no communication with me in terms of the location, and I guess that's forthcoming at some point.
Now as well.
I don't have enough information to be able to ask questions because the first time I heard about this was when the agenda came out. I had no idea this was happening. In terms of, this is part of the budget. I think it's a $25,000 line item in the capital budget. If we approve this at council, what are the next steps? Does it just simply get implemented?
So to you, Chair, if you do approve it at council, then we would begin the public engagement process, consulting and looking at design for the space.
Okay. I feel like it's somewhat backwards where we could have had some public engagement to establish the need, establish the location, all of that. I feel like, it's a budget item. The there's a recommendation of where to have it, and the public or the ward councillor had zero say in any of that. I'll leave it at that for now. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I think it's a good idea. And thank you for working on it. I did speak with the director. And actually, I don't know what the community would think about having it in this location. I think that's something we should find out. My opinion was that we'll be moving the Christmas tree from the area of the front of the town hall. And I just thought it would be appropriate to have it at the town hall. And also there would be washrooms available depending upon when people met. And it seems to me it's the structure. I mean, you've got the floor, though I think I'll ask Ms. McDougall to describe the area where this is suggested, but I think there's also some ground structure that would support this. So through Mr. Chair, could I ask Ms. McDougall why, reasons why the town hall wouldn't be appropriate or why it wasn't chosen?
Through you, Mr. Chair, certainly the town hall definitely was on the list of considerations when it came to the staff and their view of a site like this. And when it expanded to consider other issues and things that may come up worldly that we need to consider, this town hall municipal site was a bit of a challenge from the perspective of office hours. Depending on busyness of the town hall, the parking lot may be a challenge if it's busy. Washrooms are only accessible when the hours are open, when the building is open. So if it's happening on the weekend and or evenings, that's not a benefit to be at this site. Saying that, at Queen's Diamond Jubilee, the washrooms aren't there either. So it's the same kind of challenge. However, it enables at this site, and certainly Michelle would have a little bit more defense as to why that location. It certainly is a much more secluded private entity off to the back end of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. It has a lot of amenities already in place that would be interesting and considerate for a space like this, where it's quiet, it's peaceful, surrounded by treat areas, sitting areas that are there available. Pathways already exist from an accessibility perspective. So there wouldn't be too much to enhance. Out front of Town Hall, we already know there needs to be some improvements. The interlocking stone is uneven, needs repair on its own. It's a project that's in our foresight for Town Hall as it is. The tree that's there, looking at my director here next to me, it's not the healthiest of trees. It would likely need to be replaced anyway, or something to be changed in that garden. So an investment in that site is worthy, but whether or not it results in being the preferred reflection space did not seem to be top of mind and top of the list for the staff's recommendations. Whether Queen's Diamond Jubilee is the absolute perfect location, as part of the report, we mentioned we are going to be doing some public consultation as well, and that might change as we evolve. So it's clearly open to suggestions, but we felt as staff that was amongst our own amenities, probably one of our best spaces, and maybe a bit underutilized as it is sitting off sort of quietly in the back end of that location.
Thank you. Good reasons. Still favor the town hall, but it's just one opinion. But as Councillor Gallo said, it does seem to be backward. I think we should have this problem with the disc course in the Highland area. So and then we got such outrage. I would like to be consulting with the public. I mean, they may think it's wonderful, or they may hate the idea of the traffic and people coming into their neighborhood, which would kind of be, I think, how it would go. But before we go forward, I'd like to hear from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? I would share those sentiments, because clause 3 does say that the council approved the easterly portion of Queen's Diamond Jubilee Park as the preferred site. So that is what would be moving forward, short of outrage, which I highly doubt from the community. But to me, you pick a location, notwithstanding the benefits and the value of what is being proposed, into a community. You don't ask them after you've already chosen the location. You ask them, this is one of the areas. You have that discussion, and then you move forward. This seems to be done, not including the public. So I won't be supporting this as it stands, but we have some time before council. Any further comments? Councillor Gilman.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair to Ms. McDougall. If I may recall, out of the hundreds of pages of the budget, was there a line item in there for this project?
Yes. Councillor. Sorry.
Through you,
Ms.
Mr.
McDougall.
Chair, yes, there is. It's actually titled Town Hall Reflection Space, just to draw your attention to that again. That's where our brains were. We were thinking of being a town hall location. We've moved from that, and even the content of the capital sheet speaks of moving away from the town hall location. The sheet speaks to 25,000 to be used in 2024 for the design of a park of where this amenity would be. And in 2025, there is a capital item of 250,000 to do the renovations of whatever might be needed for the park. But it is inclusive in that. So it'd be great if we could get some direction, whether or not council's even interested in us pursuing a reflection space, whether or not the location still needs to be evaluated, but at least to know if this is something council is interested in us pursuing.
Great, thank you.
See no further comments. All those in favor? Sure. Okay, item number 1 to receive. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Item number 2, the council approve proceeding with the design of the community reflection space. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That council approve the easterly portion of the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Park as the preferred site for the community reflection space. All those in favor? Opposed? That fails. Item 9.3, traffic calming measures in school zone performance evaluation. Could I get someone to put that on the floor, please? Councillor Gardner, second. Councillor Weiss. Any comments or questions? Councillor Weiss.
Thank you. The question I have has to do with the evaluation. We've seen the reductions in the speeds that they've seen there, but I don't know, is this a significant reduction in speed when compared to other types of tools like this elsewhere? And I don't know where that goes, Chair, so you can probably to Mr. Ramuno. But
Mr. Ramuno, I don't know if Mr. Bat is around.
No. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll try to answer that. So yeah, the criteria, the one with respect to the reduction of speed that we've noticed or registered throughout the pilot project, considering the 40-kilometer speed limit, I think it's in keeping with what we've seen in other jurisdictions. It is a relatively significant reduction. Having those flexible bollard signs there, it does achieve the it does slow vehicles down because of the narrowing of the lanes. So yeah, there's definitely a positive outcome there.
Sir Weiss?
And again, I was reading the notes about residents and the problem with the residents. You don't feel that the bollards are a significant disruption to the residents on that street when compared to the value of as the reducing speed? Is that the point of the resident warrant and the information they provide?
Mr. Rumino?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, we've identified some concerns we've heard from residents, and the one that, in moving forward, we'll factor that into our policy. And in particular, one not receiving enough notice, but the other more common concern was the location of the bollards being too close to individual driveways. So that's something that, staff continue to move forward with the installation of these signs. Will definitely ensure that we do our best to mitigate, how close the bollards are to any individual driveway.
Thank you. No more.
Thank you. Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. I've heard mixed opinions on this, not this, but towns and cities using this, and they've been more negative than positive. But when I'm looking at the pilot project, it's, for example, Northern Lights, the speed was reduced by 10%, which sounds like a lot, but it went from 49 to 44. That's still going pretty fast. The Highview was a little bit better. Highview is a really difficult area, as you probably know. Devon's, it went from 45 down to 42. It's not a huge amount. I have a motion that's, it must be 10 years old by now, about using, well, at that point it was red light cameras. When Ms. Van Leeuwen was here, she had said we had to wait until we got the ability to take the income into the town. I believe we have that now. And I'm wondering, why can't we use those in school zones and just move them around? All we need are a few tickets. Once people get some tickets, they talk among each other, and I think the speed slows. We'd have to keep moving them around, but I don't know whose purview that is, but we finally have that system in place, and we don't, because before the region of York was getting any money from tickets. Yeah. Mr. Muna, would that through you, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Roman.
You, Mr. Chair. No, and I know the region had been using red light cameras along the regional roadways, specifically along a stretch of Wellington from the Aurora High School and Wellington Elementary School. I mean, that is an option, but again, that's a little more of an expensive option with respect to purchasing the equipment and then just the installation and moving that around, whereas the flexible signs are very cost effective.
The region, through you, Mr. Chair, the region did a pilot project in some school zones. Perhaps we could get the information from them, at least about how effective the pilot was and how much money. I mean, it's not a cash grab. If you're speeding in a school zone and you're caught, well, sorry, you need to pay the fine. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect at that, but we're looking for safety here. So I'm sorry, I didn't look at how much would this cost us? And could we do a pilot project? Through you,
Sorry,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair. Pardon me, Councilor Gardner, the cost of the red light cameras or the flexible signs?
The flexible signs.
It's a minimal cost to the town. I mean, just one stretch. Our estimation is less than $1,000 to install the signs on one street.
Well, I would like to know if they work. Perhaps we could install them in one of these areas. Highview might be hard because there's two schools.
Sorry,
We'd
these
have to-
actually happened. They were installed in these.
Did they?
areas.
Did they?
Well, the results are. In
Oh, this is the pilot project.
Yep.
Right. Sorry, of course. Again, the Highview went from, it was reduced by 5 kilometers, but it went from 49 to 44. That's still pretty fast in that. I don't know. Did we through you, Mr. Chair, did we speak to the people in the area that were affected by these signs? Did they feel that they were worthwhile?
Mr. Ramona.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has been some discussion with residents and amongst our staff with respect to some of the concerns, and we've listed some of the concerns that we have heard with respect to just the location of some of the signs. Some felt were too close to, and again, private driveways. But overall, I think, it's staff's opinion that they have been effective in even minimally slowing traffic down.
Counselor?
Well, we have to do something. Maybe this is a start.
Thank you. Any other comments? Just if there's any value to it, that this did come to the committee and the committee overwhelmingly supported this. It does have warrants, has to meet 70% of the households be interested in it, has to meet all of those 3 warrants. So I'll be in support of it. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Thank you. 9.4, Aurora Seniors Association Operating Agreement Renewal. Could I please get someone to put that on the floor, please? Councillor Kim, Councillor Gilliland, sorry, Councillor Gardner. Any comments or questions? Councillor Gardner.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what is the advantage to the town?
Ms. McDougall.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So with our Seniors Association, this is an operating agreement with the association, and it has come due. It's coming to an expiry date. So it is time for us to renegotiate and renew the agreement with them. So when we do that, we look at the terms that are in it. And in doing so, we've come to a good understanding and balance with regards to their use versus town's use of the space. There's certainly spaces within it that they have exclusive use to, but they're still open to the town, and we have lots of opportunities that are town-related programming. With regards to advantage to us, what's to us, the benefit, the Seniors Association is very valuable to obviously the municipality, and the programs that they deliver are well received. In fact, their membership has returned and exceeded their pre-pandemic levels to just shy of 1,600 members, which is fantastic to hear. So the feedback we're receiving is that they're eager, they're excited to renew with us. They have some terms within there that they would still like for us to review and negotiate, such as the renewal agreement component and such as the termination clause. We've drafted a termination clause. They're a little concerned about how short that might be, because technically, officially, of a 60-day clause means they'd have to be officially out within 60 days if we gave notice. They're very concerned about that being too short. They also have feedback to us about a renewal. Right now, the renewal in the agreement, we're keeping it to the 5-year term, because if there's to be changes in the terms of the agreement, we have to come back to the table to negotiate anyway. By putting a renewal clause in there, there is, albeit an anticipation there'll be changes, but it's the perception and optics to them that show council's commitment of renewal. So they're seeking us to add and change the direction and actually add a renewal clause back in to what is before you.
Thank you. Through Mr. Chair. I mean, I think the senior center is amazing. I think they do a wonderful job. So as you said, so this is what they want, and so forth. This is what we should do to please them and reward them for all the hard work and great programming. Is that it in a nutshell?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, they definitely are eager for a renewal, for the agreement to come back into place. They're happy with the changes that we've negotiated together. They just would like right now we've got it as a 5-year term and then it terminates. They actually would like us to change the clause that's written in the report to add a renewal clause back in. But so I keep using the word renewal. I apologize for that confusion. We're at a stage where their existing agreement ends December 31st. We need to renegotiate to put a new agreement back in place. What they're asking for is, right now it's set for 5 years, period. They're asking for us to use the language in there that has renewal clause of 5-year renewals upon mutual agreement, mutual consent. So the way this resolution reads, I'm hoping for a bit of an edit, because that's what they would like, is some renewal in there.
Thank you through Mr. Chair for the last time. When I read this report, what I got from it, I mean, I understand that. What I got from it was that this is what the senior center wanted. Which was fine with us, like this was agreed upon, but this is, it's a slightly different agreement that, I mean, they want more operating hours, et cetera. So this is something they really want.
Ms. McDougall?
They really.
Through
want
Mr. Chair,
this.
to be concise, yes, they
We
want
should-
this agreement.
We should
Yes.
respect their wishes. So my original question was, what advantage is it to the town? Do we get any more? We don't get any more programming time.
Ms. McDougall?
Through Mr. Chair, I think what you could say, the benefit to the town is that there are seniors dedicated programming that is taking place and being delivered at a very low rate to our local residents. To that is a benefit to this municipality. And that, as well as the edits being made to it, it's a lot more clear and concise as to the various roles between responsibilities of the town and their responsibilities. So I would say there's a benefit in both ways.
Thank you.
Mayor Marakis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And speaking to kind of what Ms. McDougall mentioned, after discussing it with staff and as well as what the seniors kind of want, this to say, I'd propose an amendment that the town enter into a 5-year agreement with 2 5-year renewal periods and a termination period of 180 days with the ASA for the operations of the senior center on terms set out in this report.
Can we see that?
Yeah. And if someone wants to second that.
Is there a second? Councillor Thompson? Could we? Yeah, let's take a look at it.
I can speak to it just a little
Sure.
while it goes up, Mr. Chair. So, I mean, ultimately, it says, I think Ms. McDougall mentioned that it's more for optics, that renewal would still have to come back to us and we would have to approve any extension. It's just purely optics. I think it gives comfort to the seniors and the senior center, having an understanding that we would like to see them there long term and we don't want to see them go anywhere. But at the end of the day, it'd still be council's decision after a 5-year period, whether we want to renew it for an extra 5 or not. So that would still come back to us.
Any comments, Councillor Gardner?
Could you just say again, it's a 60 period to 180 period?
It's on the
and-
screen.
Pardon?
It's on the screen.
There it is. Thank you.
An 80-day termination period instead of the 60-day termination period that was originally proposed in the agreement. And so this amendment basically is what the senior center would prefer to see us pass this evening. And so that's why I've asked to put it on. If we so choose not to go forward with it, then that's council's prerogative.
But was this discussed? Was this kind of a time period discussed with the seniors when you were negotiating the lease?
Ms. McDougall?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, in fact, they reiterated it at a meeting we had with them yesterday. Their concerns of what's written in the report of the 60 days, they felt was very, very quick turnaround. They really would feel more comfortable with 180 or 6 months. And then the renewals, again, as the mayor mentioned, I think they feel more comfortable knowing that there's a long-term relationship and that we see it that way. Even though they understand every 5-year increments, they'd have to be back for a reconfirmation of the agreement.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So why doesn't it appear in the report that we see tonight? There must have been some staff felt some drawbacks to this.
Ms. McDougall?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think from pure black and white kind of logistics and maybe legal, every 5 years, we have to come back to council anyway. And so we did add a secondary notation in there, assuming it would terminate in 2028, that there would be an expectation we would renegotiate in the 5th year. That still didn't sit comfortable. As we reviewed that again with our seniors association, they would prefer it to be this way, with the understanding that we're revisiting it every 5 years, but at least it shows in the agreement there is this renewal option. And it's almost like a 15-year vision of the Seniors Association in place. So yes, staff did have it at the 5-year and terminate at 2028. But that just felt a bit too definitive and harsh, even though they understand there's still a review every 5 years.
Thank you. I understand that. I just wondered why that wasn't put in the report before us. So I'll have to think about it. Thank you.
Any other comments on the amendment? I just have one. I'm okay with it other than, and I know you said, Ms. McDougall, that there would be a review, but it doesn't say that in the motion. It says with 2 5-year renewal periods, either a subject to council or I think something should be in there. Yeah, Ms. Shehryar, any suggestions or Mr. Clerk or? Yeah, I'm not the best at wording, but Ms. Shehryar.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify everything that has been said. If it's in the recommendation, then we don't have to come back to council after 5 years. That's why it's in the recommendation. And the reason why it's in the recommendation was because the body of the report had different information. Because initially, while we were negotiating with Aurora Seniors Association, we were proceeding one way. And then as they started reviewing the agreement further, they recognized that there was not a renewal offer, and there was not, the termination period was only 6 months, or 60 days. But by then the report has already been written. So the reason why we're adding it into the recommendation is because it's different from what the actual report is saying. In terms of it coming back every 5 years, my position has always been that if it's in the report, then council is aware that there's a renewal, and therefore we don't have to come back to council. The reason why in this case we came back to council, because as much as there was a 5-year agreement and a renewal clause in the existing agreement, the renewal said only if they were renewing on the exact same terms and conditions, except for the money piece. In this case, there's different terms that were negotiated, and therefore I felt that it had to come back to council because it was different from what council first saw when we negotiated it 5 or 7 years ago. Hope that clarifies things.
Okay. I'm still stuck on not quite understanding whether this language, I think I understood you say that if this language moves, it does not come to council at the renewal periods.
That is correct.
Okay. I'm not crazy about that, but I'm open to suggestions. Mr. Mayor, you have.
And Mr. Chair, thank you. And I appreciate that. My understanding was that it would come back to us. And so I would be comfortable adding in a friendly amendment to this amendment to allow for whether it's with 2 5-year renewal periods subject to council review or approval,
Like
or
subject to council.
so that is
approval.
subject to, that's, and so if that's the wording that we're good with, then I'm fine with that as well, because that's what
Okay.
I was anticipating that we were doing. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm good with that.
All right. It'll come back to, the whole thing will come back to us every 5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. Any other comments on the amendment? All those in favor? I looked both ways. Everyone okay with it? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Back to the main motion. Main motion as amended. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 9.5, 2023 year-end surplus deficit management bylaw report and reserve management update. Could I please get a motion to put that on the floor? Councillor Gardner. Mr. Mayor. comments or questions? Councillor Gardner.
Through Mr. Chair, is there anything new in here?
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the only thing that's new in here is we have created an insurance reserve. And the reason for that is there can be swings in the amount that's required for payments for insurance settlements from year to year. So in years when they're lower, we will contribute that to the reserve to cover off years where they could be higher. And this helps us manage the budget a little bit easier from a year to year basis.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Yearend.
Thank you. I'm just trying to find my email with all the notes. I know I had asked quite a few questions just for a little bit more clarity. I was hoping it would be spelled out a little bit more. Let me just get to the email here. I guess in the meantime, while I'm trying to find this, I did ask a question about the sponsorship and if there was some clarity as to the amounts of sponsorships that we've received thus far and how it's been allocated to the project.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel. This is
through you, Mr. Chair. I think this is not related to
No,
this
this is,
particular report. This is surplus
this is the
management.
year-end surplus.
Oh, sorry.
Not there yet.
I was a little eager, I guess. Thank you. Never mind.
Any other comments to this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, that's carried. 9.6. Sorry. Yep, 9.6. Aurora Town Square financial status. It's a motion to receive, I believe. Yes. Can I get a mo? Councillor Weiss, seconder. Councillor Kim, comments or questions? Councillor Gilden.
Okay, same question. Just wanted a little clarity on the sponsorship. I didn't really see a breakdown or give us an idea of how much sponsorship we've received thus far and how it was allocated. I know some of it might have been in confidential, but I just didn't know, like, we should be able to at least have a number or something to be able to provide people. Through Mr. Chair to Ms. McDougall.
Ms. McDougall.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, it's a good point. Part of that report probably should have included a segment of the capital campaign as an update. Publicly, we know we've had a couple of acknowledgements where we have celebrated the funds raised. So we know it's public, but you're right, to report and summarize it in a public report would have been beneficial. So to that point, to date, we have raised a total of 1.925 million. That's $1.9 million dollars raised to date. And of that, 1.2 has been reallocated to support additional fund requirements.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair to Ms. McDougall as well. The question has, I'm curious why this doesn't break down the original price point for the capital and consultant fees of where it began and where it is now. Everything is shown as revised. If you could just clarify, that would be great.
Ms. McDougall. Did you get that question?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe I understand the premise and what you'd ask, but I'm not specific of what response you're looking for as far as details go.
Yeah, so there was a financial strategy report that did talk about the cost of the project from the beginning and where how it started and where it is today, whereas what was provided was revised numbers. And I know some of the people in the community wanted to see where it started from and how that's progressed.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I believe where it started from, it depends on where your goal line is. I'm going to start just from a summary from the March 2019 report that went to council as far as a capital project goes. At that time, the capital funding approval had the project in March of 2019, just over $40 million approved by council to proceed. A few changes had changed since that time. Prior to final scope of work approval, resulting in a report coming back to council in August of 2020. And that in that report, finance report FIN 20-019. It's a financial strategy for Town Square. At the time, the project was approved to proceed after the tender had happened. This project then at that point was capital project approval of 51,939,000. And the only change to that was based on a report in the spring of this year in 2023. An additional 1.2 million was added to the project for the scope, resulting in a total project at this point of just over $53 million.
Thank you. And also through you, Mr. Chair, to Ms. McDougall, if you could clarify the estimated Town Square operating budget, including the additional staff required for the ATS and the ACC, that would be great.
Ms. McDougall.
Through Mr. Chair, based on a couple of reports coming back to council, keeping in mind, remembering back to the original March of 2019 operating budget of approval of a pressure being of 720,000 at that time was spread out over 3 years. So that 720 plus a recent report from staff recognizing the need for additional funds for various reasons that since 2019, things have changed. We asked for an additional $350,000 for a total of $1,070,000 for operating pressure. In addition, presented with a relationship and partnership build with the Aurora Cultural Center, their request as well as ours to support the operation for additional staff supports for them and the operation of Town Square was an additional $150,000. All that total is a 1.2 million operating budget for the Town Square.
Thank you. And that's obviously without projected in your revenue. Just curious, I know that I had asked a question through you, Mr. Chair, and I think it was Ms. Marie Van Cussel that had actually answered me. And it was a question about the overall operating impacts before revenues and such. And you made some comments about being included in the business case that went to special counsel, but in that business case, was it not projected on numbers from 2018, 19 or 18? Saw a little star at the very bottom of that attachment, and I thought it said projected on 2018 or 19 numbers.
Ms. Wainwright Van Kessel.
Through you, Mr. Chair, are you speaking of the business case that went to the special council meeting?
Mm-hmm.
Ms. McDougall.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and then I'm going to ask another clarification for that September 25th, you're talking the business plans. So you're talking those 3 tables at the back end, those attachments. So as far as those figures go, are you asking that it was proposed based on 2018 figures?
I think I recall, and I'd have to look it up, but I thought there was an asterisk saying with a footnote suggesting that those numbers were based on 2018 or 2019. I just want to clarify, it just kind of reminded me to ask.
Certainly through you, Mr. Chair. Yes, you're right. There is an asterisk at the bottom noting the 2018 numbers presented. So this is how the 720 was generated. However, the analysis has been updated since, and that resulting in the additional 350. So there's an inflationary cost. Part of that 350 was considered, as well as square footage changes, operating hours, and so on. So yes, the original 720 was based on 2018 assessments, but it has been updated since based on our new analysis in today's dollars, resulting in the 350 necessity.
Thank you. And within this new report, I think I was asking for a percentage on the levy with the overall operating impacts before revenue. Did you provide that number?
Ms. McDougall.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I believe it is in tonight's report, summarized in the financial section. For page 4 of 6 in tonight's report. I'm just going to quickly pull it up as well. And so with this operating notation here regarding and how it was implemented over the various years. So with the operating, as you remember, the 720 was implemented over 3 years, 0.5% each year for 3 years, for a total of 1.5. Now with the, you're seeing 267 there, but that's the same conversation regarding the 350 request. that relates to the revenue offsets. So the pressure is reduced based on those revenue offsets. How it was also implemented and proposed to be, I should say, implemented over 3 years. 0.2, 0.2, and 0.1 for a total of 0.5% over a 3-year span. That's how it will be implemented. And then the additional 150,000 is requested by ACC for the additional supports necessary to operate. That 150 is a 0.3% of a tax levy. So therefore, a total operating implemented incrementally since 2019, a total of 2.3% tax levy impact for operating.
Thank you. And just a quick question, because it just kind of came to me now, because it says 2019, 2026. Does that also include the additional 5 staff that's in the budget for the Aurora Town Square for 2024, 2020?
Through Mr. Chair, yes, that is inclusive of those staff requests.
Okay. I know I have some other questions, but Councillor Weiss is here, so I'm going to pass it over. Thank you.
Councillor Weiss.
Thank you. And I want to thank you for putting that last paragraph in on page 3, where we're talking about the $100,000 celebration and showcase. There's been a number of questions that have come forward about the expenditure, and just to put it on the record that you are collecting some offset revenues either through ticket sales or sponsorships, and you are suggesting here that there will be no effect on the tax levy because you're taking money out of the tax stabilization from savings. So I just wanted to point that out to people, and I want to thank you for including that, because it's been a couple of questions that we've had before. So thank you very much. That's it.
Thank you. So just for clarity, it's from the past Aurora Town Square operating budget savings that's deposited within the rate stabilization fund. Any other comments? Councillor Gardner.
Thank you. On that same page, on page 3, it's talking about the Aurora Cultural Center. These costs are expected to taper off by 2027 as the Aurora Cultural Center establishes their operations in the new facility. My understanding is that they'll be back in that facility and they won't have any extra. This is talking about rents for performance space and other off-site costs while it was displaced from the Church Street School. So my understanding is that the Aurora Cultural Center will be opened in 2024.
Through Mr.
That's
Chair.
a hard yes.
That
Sorry.
is
Councillor Ms. Google.
yes, to clarify, this is referring to the displacement costs for the cultural center to operate while they've not been at their home in 22 Church. Therefore, it was a bit of a buffer there to say it goes through till 27, but ultimately these displacement costs that are in the budget will stop in 2024.
So, but why would it, if the cultural center is going to be back in place in 2024, why are we talking about costs tapering off by 2027 as the Aurora Cultural Center establishes their operations in the new facility? These costs include temporary to rent, performance spaces, and other off-site costs. So
The funding through the rate stabilization will be tapered off. Well, why don't I get staff to confirm that? Ms. McDougall.
is that
through
it's
Mr.
the
Chair, that
funding
is
to the rate
correct.
stabilization that will
That
be
is
tapered
correct.
off?
Yes.
Thank you.
You done?
Oh, yes, I'm
Yep.
done.
Any other? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? I need some hands. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. 10 notices of motions. We have 3 for council. No regional report, new business. Why don't we start to my left? Councillor Kim. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Chair. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but I did want to bring up, just in case I didn't, been talking about it a lot lately, but I'm not sure if I brought it up at this table, is the reversal that the province made in regards to the York Region official plan, where they've reversed all the modifications and have basically implemented the original official plan as approved by York Regional Council. And the reason I bring it up is it is significant for the town of Aurora, because one specific modification that was made by the former Minister of Municipal Affairs was one at the corner of Leslie and Wellington that instructed that a minimum of 12 stories be erected at that corner. So now with that modification gone, we go back to the original plan as envisioned by York Region official plan, as well as ours, that is being updated and will be will be sent into the province, I guess, by the end of the year. Terminal, yes. So I mean, that's good news for us. I know we're continuously working with Minister Calandra right now to discuss things moving forward. Many things for the town of Aurora. So I'm looking forward to working with the new minister. It seems that this is going to be a very productive working relationship moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, no. Councillor Gardner. New business.
Thank you for clarification through you to Mr. Mayor. Just, it also was employment land. So does that go back from residential to employment land?
Thank you for that question, Councillor. Through you, Mr. Chair. No, the original York Region official plan, once it was submitted as, I think it was it residential or was it community lands? Community lands. And so it reverts back to its original state as per York Region's approval without any modification. Pardon?
I'll speak more to that next week. Thank you.
Our official plan had it as.
Yeah,
as
but I don't think
as
in our
implemented.
official plan, we have approved it as, no,
Any other new business?
no.
Councillor Gilliland? Mike?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Ramuno. I just wanted to follow up on the speed humps over at Aurora Heights by Bathurst. I know that some of the residents there were not happy with the way that they were constructed because they were really, I guess, low and didn't really seem to slow the speed down. I decided I was going to go take a drive over myself and was quite shocked in agreement that it was like there was nothing there. And I was wondering if your staff had a chance to go over and make an assessment and make a decision on whether or not they're going to make some amendments to them.
Mr. Ramuno?
Through you, Mr. Chair, staff are analyzing those speed bumps. They haven't reported back yet to me, but I will follow up and report back to council as soon as we get the information.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, to Mr. Ramuno, and I know that we had some conversations. I just want to publicly acknowledge some of the work we're trying to do about the parking situation on Temperance and Tyler Street with the respect to the construction workers, the local businesses and the residents around there. And I was hoping that you could shed some light on what we're doing to work with the developer and the surrounding area. So at least we have an expectation of how we're working together to try and solve this.
Mr. Ramuno?
Certainly through you, Mr. Chair. So with respect to the ongoing construction of the United Church and the retirement home at Yonge and Tyler, I think we have heard from one or two local businesses that have concerns about the, I guess, the workers working on that project, taking some of the parking spots within the Temperance Street municipal lot and part of the private lot. I did put a call out to the developer, and he'll send a message out to the construction crews and trades to try and do the carpool wherever possible. And they all are close to finishing the underground parking space, so they will also consider, once the underground parking levels are completed, opening that up to the to their trades. That would hopefully ease the parking situation.
Thank you. And to Mr. Chair, to Ms. Camp, There were some inquiries through the BIA about some of the downtown, I guess, our own property standards in respect to some lighting in between some of the buildings there, going down some stairs. I understand that's in the budget for reconstruction, but lighting for safety is a bit of an issue. And I'm just curious as to whether or not that's part of the project or if that's something we have to request.
Ms. Steenkamp.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the stairs are actually part of the 2024 budget for council consideration, and they will be fully replaced along with some interlock walkway that leads to the parking lot. The lighting, from what I understand, apparently there is lighting out, and our operations staff have deployed our contractor to investigate. But it's my understanding that the lighting is sufficient there currently. There's just an outage right now that's causing some issues.
Thank you. And one last thing through Mr. Chair and Mr. Serio. I didn't preface this to you in advance, and I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but through conversations with the BIA board, several businesses downtown have noticed that there has been, I guess, some mischievous behavior. And I've also had some conversations with YRP, but one of the suggestions that was spoken about within some of the board members is, would it be possible if even a bylaw could maybe have a little increased presence there just every now and then, or at least park a vehicle overnight if we don't have the staff, just to give the impression that there's a presence there to deter this kind of behavior. Is that something that we could do?
Mr. Serio.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I can speak to our bylaw manager, and I'm sure that there's someone that he can have patrolling every now and then, and we can see what we can do.
Thank you. And in respect to Mr. Chair, in respect to maybe parking a vehicle overnight at certain times to kind of give the impression, if we don't have the staff, to show that there is an authoritative presence. Sometimes it works with YRP cars on the side of a road until people kind of notice, but it tends to deter people from wanting to participate in mischievous behavior when they see a vehicle of authority. Would that be something that we could do?
Mr. Serio.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I can't answer that right now. I have my own feelings on it. Like,
okay,
you know that the car's there, and then after a few days, you continue to go fast. So, but I will speak to our bylaw manager and see. I'm also concerned to leave a fleet there, but we can see what we can do.
All right. Thank you.
That's it. Councillor Weiss.
No, I'll say this for PSAs. It's fine.
PSAs are next. Go ahead.
Okay, great. The Construction Liaison Committee will be meeting on Thursday of this week. This is the first time we've had that committee. It's being made up by a number of residents and council members. So we'll look forward to some responses from them having to do with the traffic, the construction, and all the rest of it that's happening on the 2 tracks, plus the platform, and I hope grade separation. So we'll have some reports on that coming back soon.
Thank you. When is that? Sorry.
Pardon me?
When is that?
Thursday afternoon, 3 p.m. and it'll be over at the Aurora Family Leisure Complex.
Okay. Councillor Gilliland.
Back to me. I'm just
sure. Councillor Gardner.
Nothing.
PSAs? No. Councillor Thompson, Mr. Mayor. PSAs?
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to, this one probably could have been new business, but I think it's worthy of just at least mentioning it, is we did attend the opening of the residences on Yonge, long time coming. We all know that the old Howard Johnson was an eyesore to our town. And it was great to see what it looked like. I think, as I said before, not only is this council happy, but I think everyone in the town's happy to see that site cleaned up and being used for a good purpose, which is to have a space for our older adults to be able to continue to have a place to choose to continue to live here in our town if they so choose. So, which is a great opportunity for them. So I'm happy to see that location. The other one, Mr. Chair, I just wanted to bring up and remind everyone is that this Saturday, obviously, is our Santa Under the Stars parade. It's always a fantastic time. I think the entire town enjoys it. I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's one of the best parades in the entire GTHA. When you consider just the feel of the whole evening, it's incredible seeing our entire town out there celebrating and coming together. So I'm looking forward to it. I know as all of you are, and I'm looking forward to being on a float all together and wishing everyone in our town a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Councillor Kim, PSA? No? Councillor Gilliland?
Thank you. Yeah, there's lots going on actually. In addition to the parade, I just want to mention that there is hot chocolate in the veranda, the Hillary House. And then they also are going to have some wreath making sessions on December 2nd as well. The Aurora Christmas Market will be coming open on December 1st and 3rd and 8th and 10th, but I'm sure we'll talk about that again. Also this November, there's a holiday group show at the Royal Rose Art Gallery. Something you should really definitely check out, as well as this is actually a really interesting one. Public art mentorship opportunity with Oddside Arts for Youth, which is celebrating the opening of the town square. So they're calling on 8 youth artists between 16 and 24 years old to be selected to ornament the new facility. So go to the auroraculturalcenter.ca for that information. Individuals who are selected will receive an honorarium, $175. And the deadline to apply for that is December 17th. I think it's a really great initiative for young artists in the community. Also with the arts and culture industry, there's fabulous shows going on at Theatre Aurora, specifically right now, Anne of Green Gables. I really encourage you to go out and see it. Upcoming as well, which is really interesting, is the Aurora Comic-Con. Did I say that right? Or a Comic-Con event at the Aurora Legion on November the 25th. It's $5 admission and children are 12 are free. And also just want to mention that the kettlebell drive has begun for the Salvation Army. So please look out for the various kettlebells in the various locations. I know I will be at the LCBO, the Metro Plaza, December 7th at 12. So please come by and visit me there. And there's so many other things to talk about, but the one reminder I want to tell everybody is that the windrow removal pilot program deadline for applications, because you need more, right? Because we have so many, is November the 30th. So if you're 65 and over, or somebody with a disability, you will qualify for the windrow removal program. You can come into the town and fill out your application and drop it off. You just need some ID. And you'll be part of that pilot. Other than that, enjoy your weekend.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a few more, actually. I just pulled up my PSAs. Winter parking restrictions are now in effect. I hate to be bearer of bad news, but please avoid overnight street parking as well as on-street parking when it is snowing. These restrictions are in effect to help our snowplows keep our streets clean and safe for pedestrians and vehicles. To learn more, visit aurora.ca/parking. After extensive public consultation, we are pleased to release the final draft of the official plan amendment. We will be receiving any final comments through to this Friday, November 24th, 2023, to review the plan and submit feedback. And I would actually ask all residents to please provide feedback. Please visit engageaurora.ca/OPR. And as well as we are having a holiday eco challenge. It's a bingo and check off eco-friendly actions to win fantastic prizes. And you can download your bingo card and get ready to start playing throughout the month of December. And you can find the details for that at aurora.ca/holiday eco challenge. Also, spread joy this holiday season. And we can all do that by our Toys Tickets campaign, which is back from November 22nd to December 15th. So instead of paying fines, you can donate a new unwrapped toy and make a child's holiday brighter. So let's make a difference together, and you can learn more at aurora.ca/parking. And last but not least, but applications for the community partnership grant are now open. And if you're an Aurora serving organization or individual with plans for an engaging community initiative, this opportunity is for you. It's up to $10,000 is available, and deadline is December 1st, and you can apply at aurora.ca/community grants. Mr. Chair, thank you very much.
There's a conspiracy to break my record, most efficient meetings. Councillor Gardner.
I just wanted to say, to save anybody disappointment, The window removal program is available to those 65 or over as long as they're not living with somebody younger who presumably would be capable of shoveling the snow. Oh, you want to go into that? Yeah, regional roads. And certain areas where there isn't room to do it. It's, yeah, there, yes, there. So please look at all of the parameters because I don't want you to be disappointed if you come over to the town and you don't qualify. Okay, I'm done. I'm done.
Thank you.
Oh.
No closed session. Oh, Councillor Gilliland, let's keep it going.
Sorry. I was going to wait till next week, but we won't have PSAs at the council, I think. So, and then the next council GC, it'll probably be missed. So I guess December 1st is the Christmas tree lighting in Town Park. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that was happening because I don't think that we'd have an opportunity to actually announce that at the next GC. So December 1st, we'll see you there.
Thank you. Oh, here we go. Councillor Weiss.
Sorry, I just realized what Councillor Gillen said that on December 6th, this was done on December 6th, but many people in our community are facing challenges due to the current economy, and the Aurora Youth Soccer Club will be collecting food and toys on December the 10th through December 17th to support the local food bank. Non-perishable food items and unwrapped new toys can be dropped off at the field during practices or games or other times, or placed in the boxes provided at the AYSC. So AYSC is going to be donating $500 to the cause. They're looking to get a ton of food and toys for this year. So I just wanted to make that clear again. December 10th through the 17th.
And that's at the
You can go to their website.
At the Dome.
Yes.
Yep. Thank you.
I'm done.
Seeing no more PSAs, no closed session. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Gilliland, all those in favor. Opposed, that's carried. Thanks, everyone.